Hello and welcome to the Supernatural Track here at Continual. I'm your host, Gail Z. Martin, and tonight we are talking about our headcanon about, well, Sam's son, whom everybody calls Dean Jr. And so we'll just go with DJ to avoid confusion. And the show didn't give us much. The show gave us a few scenes, and from there, much fan fiction has been written, and many conversations have happened, and a great deal of headcanon has been constructed. So we're just going to wander down that murky path and fill in some of those blanks. Your mileage may vary. But before we start, let's let our wonderful panelists introduce themselves, starting with Carole.
Hi, I'm Carole Stokes. I started watching Supernatural in season 3. I started writing fanfic for it in 2012. And as Ellis Colton, I'm also the co-host of So Get This, the Lore of Supernatural Fan Fiction. And as Ellis Colton, I am an romance writer.
Okay, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is Kitty. I have been a fan of the show since the pilot aired in 2005. She, however, is a latecomer to the show. She's only started watching since 2020.
And I'm Gail Z. Martin and Morgan Bryce. As Gail, I write epic and urban fantasy. As Morgan, I write urban fantasy, male paranormal romance. But all my modern day worlds are ones where Sam and Dean could walk into and feel right at home. I fell in love with the show halfway through season 11, fell down the rabbit hole, binge watched 11 seasons in 4 months for the start of season 12. And, well, you know, been an obsessed fan and proud of it ever since. So, DJ. We get our glimpses of him in the series finale, last episode of season 15, after Dean dies in the barn with the vampires, and we get some flashes of what Sam's life is like after that. Dean's mother is Blurry Woman, whose
identity is never revealed.
Her identity is never revealed, nor is she in any of the pictures that we get this slow scan of on the mantle. So she wasn't around long. And I believe it was Jared who said it wasn't Eileen, which is a fan comment frequently. So we don't know much about DJ's mother. Did she die? Did she leave? Was it really never much of a, was it a marriage of convenience? Was it even a marriage? But Sam apparently has the kid, and we see him playing ball with him as a toddler. And then we see old Sam dying in a hospital bed. And we see this young man taking care of him. So we don't get much in canon about DJ. So let's fill in the blanks. And let's give us one thing, and then we'll go on to somebody else for the next thing. We'll just do round robin till we're out of time. Carole, give us your first thought on fanon here with DJ.
Well, I've certainly read a couple of stories where Blurry Woman was portrayed as a friend of Sam's, or not even a girlfriend, but like a friend with benefits kind of thing, who found herself in the family way but wasn't necessarily ready or wanted to raise a kid, but varying degrees of her level of involvement in terms of being a mother to DJ, but Sam taking on the heaviest portion of that, and it being an amicable thing, like she was going to go to college or, pursue her dream or whatever. And so he is more than happy to raise DJ. Clearly in the clips we do see, he adores his son when they're playing ball. And then he's walking with, holding DJ's little hand there, and DJ's wearing the cute little overalls that say Dean. I mean, that is just the cutest. and we see Sam helping him with his homework and then like clapping him on the shoulder and beaming because, you can only there, you have to assume that Sam's son is going to be smart. I mean, really, both of the Winchesters are so smart, despite the efforts in later seasons to portray Dean as not as smart. He's a smart cookie. He's a common sense, street savvy kind of smart, machines in and out, all of this stuff. So I think it's a really safe assumption that Dean Jr., DJ, is a smart boy. And then, the affection is clearly reciprocated because when he comes in and there is Sam, lying in the hospital bed and everything, he's very tender with Sam. He's takes his hand and he's speaking very lovingly to him, and he's like reassuring him it's okay, you can go. Of course, it's tear jerking because we saw Sam doing that to Dean in the barn. So they really got us with that, yeah, with that bit. But we see him being affectionate, loving, respectful, tender to his father, Sammy. So I certainly like to think that regardless of how involved, the mom was, Sam, I'm sure, devoted all his resources towards raising a confident child, a happy child. Sam knows what he didn't get.
Mm-hmm.
And now all parents do this to some degree. All parents have a thing where like, we did do this in my childhood and I want to do it with my children. And we also have we did this in my childhood and I don't want to do that with my children, or pass on that attitude, train of thought, ways to handle things, so certainly Sam has, I'm sure, many instances of, as Melissa likes to say, John Winchester's A+ parenting that he that he doesn't want to emulate. He wanted, I'm sure, to make sure that DJ felt loved his entire life, that DJ never felt abandoned, that DJ never felt Sam wasn't there for him. But at the same time, I don't see Sam being heavy-handed. Well, maybe a little heavy-handed at times, because that's a parent thing too, where you're like, the parent has to learn where is that line in terms of discipline, and find out how much does it take to discipline that particular child. Certainly parents with more children, it's tricky because you're like, well, this child was here, but now this child's here, and you have to adapt. But being an only child, Sam would have been able to suss that out pretty quickly. I'm sure encouraged DJ to do all the things Sam either couldn't do at all or tried to do, but was stymied by the moving around and the secrecy and the having to take care of himself at ridiculous ages. Like, hey, join the chess club, be in the drama club, play a sport if you want. And then Sam would be there at the tournament dinners, at the performance, at all those moments where he was either alone or with Dean, because Dean would go if he could, and then or that he had to miss entirely, as John comes in and says, okay, we're moving, throw everything in the Impala. So I really picture Sam concentrating on stability, that foundation of love, acceptance, try things, be who you are, don't try to be who I am, and not, even if he's heavy-handed at times, as all parents are, with finding that discipline point, he's certainly not let's take you to the woods and drop you off for 3 days and see if you can survive kind of thing. That, even in canon, we see hints of. So, I think DJ was really a pretty lucky guy because having all of those resources and all of that love and all of that support is pretty unique. And I picture Sam reading the books, but then, the lore of child raising, what to expect the first year, that kind of thing. But yet tempering it with trial and error. Oh, you know what, that didn't really work. So, but he seems to really like this, so I'm going to do that. And, personally, as a parent, I found when my children were small that if I really tried to make them one of those special little dinners that you see, they would be like, but the nighttime, just like, oh, I'm really tired. I'm making Kraft macaroni and cheese out of the box. They would wolf it down. So, you have to adapt to the child itself. And I could see Sam taking kind of stumbling steps with that at first, but always forefront in his mind would be, what can I do for my child that he can become a strong, independent person and enjoy his life. So I know I kind of talked a lot about Sam in there, but addressing the whole of how is Sam as a father, that's going to affect how DJ grows up, who he becomes, and everything. So to me, that just kind of seemed a good launching point, establishing that those things probably were happening and everything. And then next time it's like, okay, where do we go from there?
Okay, Melissa?
Carol and I had debated about this, and she's going to hate what I'm about to say. I don't think DJ was Sam's. I think so. He gets the call from the person saying Donna sent him to Dean, and Sam takes that hunt. Sam takes the hunt and finds, maybe it was skinwalkers, maybe it was whatever, and he takes them out, or they're already dead, and he finds a baby in the crib, and he takes the baby home with him because the baby has no family. And so he's going to raise this child and that's his last hunt. That's it. He's done, because now he's got this infant that he has to take care of. That's why there's no mother figure. Blurry Woman was one of Sam's friends, maybe the baby's nanny. Like, I could see Sam wanting a female presence in the baby's life, but I can also see him not wanting to share, not wanting that romantic relationship for lots of different reasons. So Blurry Woman was the nanny, Blurry Woman was the neighbor, Blurry Woman was a good friend of his who provided that female role model that DJ was going to need without being a significant enough piece of his life that there'd be her photo plastered, downstairs, blah, blah, blah. There was no picture of the three of them at Christmas or something, which I kind of think there would be. But anyway, that's another argument that Carol and I had. I think that, growing up, I can see this in my head so clearly. I don't have kids for lots of really strong and important reasons. But there are times when I have been at the end of my tether raising Kitty, like she's just driven me crazy. And I grew up in a household where there were reasons for me not having kids and breaking that cycle. Like, I know that Sam would have wanted to break the cycle of that plus parenting. So I could see Sam after one of those exhausting days where DJ has just worn him to the end and he's ready to explode, because kids will do that. And I can see him sitting in the Impala in the garage, gripping the wheel, white knuckling the wheel, and like talking to Dean and crying because raising this child on his own is so much harder. And kind of being aware of, Dean, you were just a kid when dad left us so often, and you provided so much of that parenting, even though you were just a kid yourself and you didn't have a good parent. Like, I can see those kinds of conversations with Dean in the Apollo. That is such a strong image in my head of, like, because I think every parent, especially if you're doing it solo, whether it's solo because your partner is working or whatever, there are those moments where you just can't, and you need to be able to take that deep breath. And I can see that. I could so see Sam doing that with the Impala.
Yeah, I think every parent who is honest with themselves, no matter how much they love their kids, have seen those moments where they get where it goes wrong for people. And by the grace of whatever, it doesn't go wrong for you, but you'd be a hypocrite if you said you didn't understand how people got pushed to the edge.
Right.
And you just have to hope that the combination of situations for you doesn't let you fall over that edge, but you can see it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think I love the idea of him sitting in the Impala, talking to Dean and reasoning this out. One of the biggest things he gave to DJ was a home, a permanent home. We see them in a house. So not only would Sam have encouraged him to be involved in things in school, but they would have stuck around long enough for him to do them. Instead of making the team and then be gone, or getting a part in the play and then not being there for the play. I think that rootedness and stability would have been a really big thing for Sam. He had a protector in Dean all his life, not so much with John. But I saw an interesting quote online that said, grow up to be the kind of person who would have protected you as a child. And for those of us who did not come up from situations where we felt protected, that's a powerful statement. And I think Sam did have Dean's example as a protector to take to the next extension of being an adult protector the way a parent is supposed to be, that John was just too obsessed, grief-stricken, lost in the bottle, whatever it was. He just wasn't able to do that, no matter how much he actually cared about the boys. And I can see Sam, and I think every parent does this, like Carole said, there are the things that you promise you will never do, and then there are the things you say, well, when I grow up and get to be in charge, I'm going to do it this way. And whether that's I'm never serving liver and onions, or whatever it is. So I'm sure Sam had those mental lists. Knowing Sam, he probably wrote them down, of what he wanted to be in a parent. And I can see him attacking that with the same intensity that he researched monsters. I can see him researching and reading all the parenting books. I can see him sitting in a chair with a stack of parenting books going, okay, how is this supposed to go? And then kind of back figuring it. Because he's got, not only does he not have an adult parental figure other than Dean and, seeing a little bit with Jody and them, but he has no model other than the time he spent with Ruby, which is not exactly normal stuff, for how do you live in the suburbs? How do you live a normal life? He had a little bit with Amy, who, not Amy, Amelia. See,
Amelia.
I don't like her. But even that was not really normal because they were both grieving. So Sam kind of has, Sam's sort of like an alien being plunked down on Earth and going, I don't know how this works. I don't know how to live in the suburbs. I don't know how not to hear the dogs bark in the middle of the night and end up in the backyard with my gun. I don't know how to react to this. And so I think that would have been a big part of Sam wanting to learn that for DJ's sake, so that DJ had as normal an experience as anybody has, because nobody's normal and everybody's got baggage. But, you know, I think he would have tried really hard, maybe not to be the TV Cleaver kind of family, but at least reasonably normal compared to what his upbringing was.
And I envision along those lines, I would envision that, of course, the first years were the hardest, both with A, baby, and B, learning how to live, you know, and so at least DJ would be little and wouldn't remember any of that.
Right.
And by the time he's like 5 and starting kindergarten or something, Sam's kind of got it down now. You know, new stuff arises, but at least he knows to take his trash cans to the curb every Tuesday, and you know, that kind of thing. He's observed enough. He's been watching while the other kids, while DJ's been real little, and you know, as DJ's hitting a milestone and an age, Sam's reading ahead now, like, okay, he's 2, what can I expect when he's 4, and all of that.
And I could see, I know you said the Cleavers, right? He's not going to have that June Cleaver thing, but I could actually see Sam watching current family sitcoms to sort of get some sense of not for the enjoyment, but sort of to try and see what families were like.
But you know, they're not.
I'm thinking more.
I could see him watching maybe older ones, like.
Well, when I'm saying modern, I didn't necessarily mean all the way to Cleveland. I was thinking of the Cosby Show. Like
Cosby Show, absolutely.
We'll put Cosby aside as a person, but
but the show itself portrayed a much more realistic family.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
Family Ties.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the kind of more current shows are all about the teenagers being super snarky, and the dad is stupid, and the mom knows everything, and blah blah blah. And they're really,
I'm thinking more stuff from
really
like the 80s.
So artificial now that it's like creepy.
Yeah.
Whereas back in that, you know, when those other ones were, I mean, they were artificial too, but at least they showed a balanced kind of life. And either parent was smarter than the other, and they were working as a team, and the kids would bicker, but at the same, you know, you knew in the bottom that they cared for each other, which, you know, now it's all like reality shows, and you know, who's the bitchiest, who's the snarkiest, who's wearing the sexiest outfit, and that's in the family shows.
Right.
So how long after Dean died do you think Sam ended up with DJ?
I personally envision within a couple of years. I think within a couple of years, whether he's like along the lines of what Melissa said, even where he's hunting and he finds a child. Although my headcanon is DJ is a Winchester. You know, I've actually even read stories where a woman has contacted Sam and she was pregnant with Dean's baby. You know, so it really is Dean Jr.
Well, it's certainly in the family canon to, you know, do a job and have a grateful survivor, and hopefully this one doesn't end up as a ghoul, but
or, you know, looking for a morale raiser and stuff. But so grateful. But I really, really do believe that DJ, one way or the other, is a Winchester. And why was I saying that? I've got
how long after
so
died?
one way or another, either, you know, a woman came forward with Dean's baby, or Sam ends up, you know, accidentally, or maybe even not accidentally, knocking up, you know, a lady friend of some kind. Because I picture that first couple of years, he is floundering. He is just, he's grieving. He can't, he's barely functioning. He's trying to find, he made Dean a promise and he's gritting his teeth to try and keep it because he is not going to break that deathbed promise to his brother. But it is so hard and so difficult. And he, you know, he's really literally day by day, hour by hour. But I'm not quoting the song, which is Man by Man, but and that's from Cabaret for anyone who doesn't get it. And when this event happens, that's what gives him the reason to keep going. You know, that's what kind of pulls him back from the brink. What?
Well, no, go ahead. I'll get there. Go ahead.
So he's, and it's not because he's wrapped up in DJ being a Winchester. It's that this is, he needed something to make him get up in the morning. And this does it. But certainly, whether it's his son or Dean's son, he is also going to have fallen in love deep and hard and in a way that he's not experienced before. You know, romantic love and even soul bond stuff is still going to be different than parent and child. And he's going to look at that little scrap of Winchesterness, crying and kicking his little hands and feet and everything. And he's just going to lose it. His heart has been given and he will do anything for that child. And because of that, he begins to build a life, because he can't give DJ a life if he doesn't have a life.
Mm-hmm. Melissa?
A lot of ditto what Carole said, except that, you know, to me, because I really do like the idea that he's found this infant. But he's out on a hunt, he's hunting vampires, he's reckless as all can be. He is just, because he promised Dean he'd live, but you know, there's that loophole of if he gets killed on a hunt, you know, and he just, you know, he's reckless. He's irresponsibly reckless.
Even
Like,
for Winchester standards.
yeah, like because he's hoping that something will do him in. So he's kept his promise. He's lived. He's whatever. And then he
just
finds
couldn't help it, man.
right, exactly. You know, as a vampire, whatever. But then he finds this child, and you know, it's like, oh, I'm gonna take him. You know, there's nobody here. I'll take him until I can find his family. And then, you know, because King of Research, hello, realizes that this child doesn't have a family, and so now he's got that knot at the end of the rope to hold on to. Right, that's what no matter how he gets to having DJ, I really do think that DJ is that knot that allows him to hang on. And at first it's just hanging on. He's just hanging on to keep this baby alive. And then over the course of time, it becomes, I'm hanging on to keep the baby alive, and then it becomes he's starting to live again. Because I don't think Sam was really living until he got DJ. However, DJ came to him. I don't think Sam was living until after that. He was existing, and they're very different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm awfully dark tonight.
No, I think that tracks very much with what we know about Sam's character. And you know, when we see Sam with little DJ, Sam hasn't changed that much. I agree. I think that he would have had to have come upon DJ fairly soon after Dean passed, because Sam just, neither of them were cut out to make it without each other. And I don't think, and I agree, I think Sam wanting to go out on a hunt and suicide by monster, I think is definitely in character and in canon. So however he came upon being responsible for DJ, I think it would have had to have been fairly soon after Dean's death. And I think Sam would have gone through quite a bit of introspection on, should I keep this child? Am I in any shape to raise a child? I'm a wreck. And eventually come to the conclusion that this was his lifeline and his way to honor Dean. So I think it had to have happened fairly soon, not years and years after Dean died. How much history do you think he eventually told DJ about the family, about the Winchester legacy, about what he and Dean actually did? And when do you think he started to talk about that? Carole?
I get the sense, so looking at the deathbed scene, DJ is like pretty mature. You know, he doesn't look like he's just out of high school or anything. So he looks to me certainly that he is, either finishing college or, has recently graduated or something. He strikes me as that kind of, 22, 23-year-old. He has the tattoo. So he certainly knows something because, he has the tattoo. And I think that would have been a really hard decision for Sam because on the one hand, he's not going to have his kid wake up with a nightmare when he's 8 years old and hand him a gun. So I think he tried a fine line between not telling him that there are monsters, but then not telling him that there's not monsters, because it's almost that Santa Claus thing. Do you let your child grow up believing in Santa Claus and then maybe they find out and they're like, oh, my parent has lied to me all these years? But I think he may have just been like really cautious about it. And maybe he waited till DJ was out of high school, like before he went away. If he's going away to college, then he's going to want DJ to know to do things like salt the windows and doors or at least know some protection stuff. I'm sure he taught DJ how to shoot and probably some hand-to-hand stuff because that's actually pretty normal kind of thing, self-protection. Does it come in handy if somebody jumps you and they're a vampire? Sure. But I don't know, maybe he waits for the big info dump when DJ's at least like 18, 19 because he can handle it a little more then. But maybe he's kind of been intimating through the years that maybe there are things out there a little bit, and certainly lots of hero stories about Uncle Dean. I'm sure that was probably a big thing. Oh, tell me another time that Uncle Dean saved someone from a monster kind of thing. So he could have presented it in this kind of fictional way and then finally be able to tell him, well, those aren't really fiction.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's kind of where I meander down.
Okay. Melissa?
I struggle with this so much because Sam's not gonna have that experience of, there's monsters in the closet, here's a gun, kid. Because, hang on a second. But the flip side of that is I can completely and totally see Sam losing his shit with DJ when DJ is small because of some perceived danger, monster related danger. Like it's not, it doesn't even have to really be a monster, but it has to be like, I mean, kids are kids, right? And they do stuff. And I could absolutely see Sam going off the deep end because he's going to see a danger, even if it's not really there, but it could be. And blowing up at this child. And then at that point, like he didn't plan on telling him, at that point, having to tell him at least something to sort of explain why he reacted so viscerally and so out of proportion. That's one thing. The other thing that's the flip side of that coin is Sam teaches himself how to tattoo, and at 16, and I don't know why at 16, but it just stuck in my head. At 16, he parks DJ down. He tells him the stories as he's tattooing him. DJ doesn't have a choice on this tattoo. You know, the only choice he has is where. And as Sam's tattooing him, he's telling him all of the stories. And I think that Carole's on the right track of Uncle Dean. The adventures with Uncle Dean were bedtime stories, and they were presented as fiction, with never actually saying they were fiction. But so that's how he tells him, like, this is this. And then they drive. That's the first road trip that DJ gets to drive the Impala, and they go out to the bunker to like see it and kind of put this all in context, because a 16-year-old isn't going to believe his dad, right? To take it to the bunker with some of the stuff they've got there, it becomes suddenly a lot more believable. Like maybe dad's not really crazy.
Well, and growing up, you know, you see your father without a shirt on, he's out mowing the yard, he's out, you know, in the garage. He would have seen Sam's tattoo. So, and, you know, kids are always like, "Ooh, can I have one of those? You know, when can I have a tattoo?" They want to match. Okay. Sometimes it's even on things parents go, "No, no, that's a birthmark. You don't need that." But he certainly would have seen Sam's tattoo and asked about it. And I think Sam would have kind of skirted that fine line that parents who come with a lot of intergenerational trauma have, of what is too much, when does it become appropriate talking about this, and how do I explain this. I think that it would have been likely that, especially in the early days, he would have gotten together with Jody and Donna, and if nothing else, having a lifeline to call in the middle of the night going, "The baby is spitting up. I am covered with puke. I have no idea what to do with this. And I've met neater demons. What the hell do I do?" You know, and I can see even Jody or Donna coming out and staying, you know, in those first few weeks when normally, you know, you'd have a mother-in-law or somebody coming.
Grandma Donna and Grandma Jody.
Huh?
Grandma Donna and Grandma Jody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I can definitely see that. I can also see that because she was so fond of Sam, that Rowena has basically put a fence around Sam and DJ and said, "You think hell is bad? You touch them. You know, these are off limits."
And then
Now,
Auntie Rowie comes to visit.
That would be tense.
Or Auntie Rena. Auntie Rena.
Yeah, that's a bit like Maleficent at the birthday party. Do you accept the birthday gift from the Queen of Hell or not? That would be dicey. Certainly don't want to piss her off, but it is the Queen of Hell. And I'm trying to remember whether in canon, after everything was over, were there still monsters?
Yes.
Yeah, because that's how Dean
got killed. Yeah,
and demon stuff was over, but there was still naturally occurring monsters.
And there would be bad witches, and there would be things like that. I can also see Sam just bringing up as a matter of course salt around the doors and all those protection sigils, and he could
The
always,
devil's trap under the entryway rug and.
right, all those kinds of things, and
Mhm.
just saying, well, it's a cultural thing.
Mhm.
It's a family thing from back in the old country. Uh, I can see him doing that.
I flashed on this great little picture in my head now when you were talking about DJ seeing Sam's tattoo. Because yes, kids are fascinated with their parents. It's like,
Mhm.
let's pull your ears and let's stick our fingers up your nose and, yeah, all of that stuff. And I could see little like baby / toddler DJ, like resting his hands on Sam's chest, like they're laughing and playing and stuff, and him poking at it and going, "Oh, what's that, Daddy? What's that?" And then later, Sam finds him with like a Sharpie trying
Yep.
to draw a little scribbly thing on himself.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I can see, Sam filling in the blanks in a lot of ways, like the holidays that they, like Christmas, that they didn't really do quite right. Um, Having more of a Mrs. Butters sort of Christmas for DJ, and birthdays and the things that they didn't get to experience, taking him to a ball game like John took Adam.
I'm sure he still struggled with Halloween though.
Halloween might have been a skip at the Winchester house, but maybe that's when they went on vacation. It's a good way to just miss it.
Yeah.
But I can see him trying to incorporate all those things in, just to make it as, to give him I think it would have been difficult to balance giving him the fresh start, but also not losing his roots, and certainly not losing the connection to Dean. Because he would have wanted DJ to really understand who his uncle was and why he's named for him, and to an extent what he was to Sam, although, that's hard to put into words.
I'm going out of order, Carol. I'm sorry. We don't know what happened between, like, there's speculation as to how long between they ended Chuck and the barn, right?
Mhm.
We all the speculation as to how long that was. I always got the impression that while there were still monsters to hunt, it was fewer. It wasn't as frantic.
Mhm.
And so, because like it just, that was when they were looking for that hunt that they actually went on, that was just the impression I got, that they had a little bit more space for life in their
Mhm.
lives. So
Mhm.
I could see the two of them building their own traditions together for the holidays. Like they had Mrs. Butter set them up with fabulous, and I could see them in those intervening years figuring out, what does Thanksgiving look like for us now when we're not rushing from apocalypse to apocalypse to apocalypse. Same thing with Christmas. So I could see Sam then building on that foundation, no matter how slim it was, to carry that forward and build something stronger, deeper for DJ.
Mhm.
And I can also see things that DJ might have said inadvertently without any idea of the context or the history, that just catch Sam, right here, whether it's wanting to go to a particular diner, or saying a phrase that he never would have heard from Dean, but the Dean often said, and DJ couldn't know that.
The first time little DJ goes, "Son of a bitch."
Right? Right?
And okay, immediate headcanon. He's a preteen. He's, swearing when dad isn't around, but dad is around. And dad hears him say, "son of a bitch." And he realizes Sam's caught him, and he thinks he's going to be in trouble. And he doesn't understand why Sam's crying.
Or comes over and hugs him.
Yeah. I mean, I can see those trigger things happening throughout, because they happen when our kids remind us of other people in our family. So, well, folks, we have run out of time. We did pretty well with this topic for brainstorming, but before we leave, please let us know where we can find you online. Melissa?
You can find me in the TFWNC Facebook group that you moderate, talking about supernatural.
Okay, Carol?
You can also find me in that same group and on many, 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 many continual panels. As Ellis Colton, you can find my books on Amazon and Smashwords. All of my social media links are at elliscolton.card.co, CARRD.co, and all of my supernatural fan fiction is on AO3, Archive of Our Own, under Fire Sign 10. Mind the tags.
And you can find me online at gailzmartin.com, morganbryce.com. I'm on all the major social medias under one or both of those names. So if you spell them right, you'll find me. I do run the Supernatural TFWNC group here on Facebook. And, but most of the time I spend here on Continual. So thank you so much for being here. Wonderful panelists. Thanks to all of you for watching and listening. There'll be more Supernatural coming up soon. So we'll see you online.